All right. We are back. Final episode of season 2 of the Droppin Knowledge podcast. Appreciate everybody's support throughout season 1 and season 2. We're going to leave for a few weeks, revamping, but we'll be back for season 3 better than ever. But for this final episode, I got a treat for you all. I've known this gentleman for feels like a decade plus now, and he is always moving and shaking in Chicago nightlife, always coming up with different projects, different venues. And he's here to drop some great nuggets. Anyone who's interested in opening venues, nightlife, etc. This young man's seen it all. And so I want to welcome to the Droppin Knowledge podcast, Kenny Johnson. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm great, brother. Glad to be here.
Good. I'm glad you said great, brother, going through everything that you've had to go through in 2020, trying to keep the venue open. And we're definitely going to circle back to that. But I want to kind of talk about, now you're not originally from Chicago. So where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Virginia and in the DC area. The DMV is what it's called today. I was born in Virginia Beach, moved to Northern Virginia, went to high school in the DC area, Georgetown Prep, in Richmond and in Richmond, Virginia, when my mother and father moved to Richmond my senior year. So it's always been in the DMV area. And then I went to college at the University of Virginia, where, a lot of this stuff that I do now started. People used to always give me a hard time when I was up on a chair charging people $2 or $3 to get into a party. And then, we'd up it to $5 and people thought we were crazy. But we were just trying to we were literally just trying to give Black students at the University of Virginia entertainment options.
Right.
University of Virginia, obviously, it's been in the news in the last couple of years, not for some great things that have happened in Charlottesville.
Yep.
But when we were there, the class that I went in, it was probably one of the biggest Black classes that they had ever had. And, you felt like you were at an HBCU most of the time. I didn't really mess with white folks down
Right.
at UVA. Didn't have to. We lived off campus as freshmen because we had so many people in our class. That's where I met some of my best friends that I have today. I mean, one of the reasons that I got to Chicago was because I came to work for Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. and his brother and I went to University of Virginia together. We all met in high school and boarding school in DC. And these relationships I've had for 30 years now, and they're probably the best relationships that anybody could ever have. And at UVA being a predominantly white school, but with a lot of Black kids and
Right.
a lot of Black students that were coming from just great families. We might have. It's like a big joke there that the University of Virginia, the dean of admissions would have you send in your pictures. So he was taking the best of the best when it came to the ladies. I mean, it was
Right.
ridiculous.
All right.
You wake up and there's just beautiful Black folks everywhere. I
Right.
mean, so I mean, it was a great experience. But then after school, I was very political. I was always doing a lot of political stuff. A lot of people that know me now don't know what brought me to Chicago. It wasn't
Right.
what I do. It wasn't because of what I do now.
Right.
That was always a part of what I did. But politics and public service brought me to Chicago. Having the opportunity to work for Jesse Jackson Jr., which turned into working for Congressman Jackson, is
Right.
the reason and why I came to Chicago, because I wanted to learn from the Jackson family. I
Right.
wanted to, be involved in public service, and I loved politics. So that's kind of how it all came about
Yeah.
25 years ago.
25 years ago. So you mentioned kind of being the guy who organized and put things together for kind of that Black community back in college. Did you ever see yourself expanding beyond that, or did you see that kind of just as a moment in time and something cool to do for the moment, or did that fire always kind of burn in you?
Well, I think it burned. It burned and it kept burning. For one, hip hop was the driving force behind it.
Okay.
The music, the DJs. That's where I started bringing, celebrity DJs, Kid Capri, Biz Marquee. Biz was my first celebrity DJ that I brought anywhere to perform, and I brought him to University of Virginia,
Hmm.
1990.
Wow.
Then I brought Capri. Then I brought Clark Kent. Then I brought DJ Clue. So we were doing this stuff a long time before a
Right.
lot of people were doing it, and doing it at a predominantly white university. So it was even a bigger deal because you know I was a student, which just a private student probably shouldn't have been doing this. My mom and dad would look at me like I was crazy. They were like, "What the hell are you doing?" But I'd always work with, I'd work with the Qs. I'd work with the Deltas. I'd work with the AKAs. I'd work with a lot of the Black Student Alliance organizations. A good friend of mine, Wes Jackson, who was over a group at UVA that did concerts. We'd partner a lot. So I mean, I didn't know it was interesting. We started just doing little parties and stuff at our house, and then it kind of got too big. Then we
Right.
said, man, let's figure out where we could go on campus or off campus. So we were renting hotels or we were renting bowling alleys. Then, when it got too big for the campus, because we had a couple run-ins, obviously, just like we all do
Right.
on
Right.
campus. It
Right.
just got too big, and the university was like, wait a minute, this is a student personally gaining from using our facilities, which
Right.
they didn't like.
Right.
We'd have this big spring thing called Spring Fling, and next thing you know, it was a good thing for incoming students to come to and to attract kids to the school. But we
Right.
made it like a damn festival, like a
Right.
Freaknik kind of a thing. And there'd be
Right.
thousands of kids coming from all the neighboring schools, all the neighboring colleges, from Richmond to DC to Philly, and it was just like, wow, UVA has got it going on because we were bringing some of these high profile ass artists,
Right.
and people were like, how is this happening? So I mean, it did it give me a lot of energy and a lot of fire to say, hey man, let's take this shit. I remember I took off school. I took off a year of school and started going up to Philly to Penn relays and to other big events that other colleges had because we were
Right.
we were hot
Right.
and people wanted to come to our stuff, and it kind of just grew. You know, I had a good group of guys from DC, from Howard University, that when we were doing bids and we were doing it, they were helping. I mean, my boys Ron DeBerry from Howard. That's where I met Kenny Burns a long time ago.
Hmm.
Um, and the crazy thing is we're still friends now, and to see what some of these guys have been able to do over
Right.
the years, I look at Kenny every day and
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. I remember Kenny and them used to come to my house. Biz used to drive with about 6 or 7 of his guys down from New York and stay in my house before they go DJ. So I mean, it's been a fun ride, no doubt
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And I also try to incorporate that in everything that I even do here now. I mean, with my places here now, I don't care if it's going to be a sit down restaurant. We're going to play hip hop.
Right.
Everything is going to be incorporated with hip hop. That's why you and I, you
Yep.
know, kind of we get along so well because
Right.
you like the old school hip hop. I like the old school hip hop.
Right.
When we were coming up on it, it wasn't old school then. That's what
Right.
was the shit to do.
Right.
And to now to see these guys, Dougie Fresh, all these guys that were coming to my stuff, 25 years ago, and to see that they're still relevant today and maybe even bigger today than they were then,
Yeah.
it's a blessing. And however I can kind of keep that culture going and
Yeah.
keep that movement going, I plan to do.
That's dope, bro. So you talked about coming to Chicago and more for political aspirations and connections. How did you get back into kind of that entertainment space in Chicago? What drew you to it? What was kind of that first opportunity?
So when I moved here and I was working for Jesse, um, I met two girls, Liza Brooks, and I met Terry Day, who became my partner. They were the first girls that I met when we literally first moved to town. We went to a fundraiser for Jesse Jr. They were there, a bunch of other people, and we just all kind of connected, all became cool. Terry found out what I used to do on the East Coast, and we were just talking. And I remember the first time we did an event. It was when the Bulls won, I want to say 97,
Okay.
either 97, 96 championship. We
Okay.
had Dennis Rodman was the host. We did Excalibur, and it was nuts.
I
And
came
then
through
after,
there. Yeah.
and then after that, her and I started sipping on Sunday, which was, for the older, even though I was 25 years old, but it was kind of an older demographic, kind of an event that we started at Green Dolphin, and we ran it for, I don't know, 10 years.
Right.
And back then it was different because there wasn't everybody that had a computer wasn't a promoter. Everybody that wanted to throw a party couldn't throw a party. You had to have some kind of something for people to come out, but besides like myself and Phil and Nate and Teddy with Club Net and Danielle Carr with First Fridays. There wasn't that much stuff going on for the professional crowd of people.
Right.
So the time I walked into Green Dolphin and met Michael Nahabedian, who owns Naha Restaurant and Brindle Restaurant, and the Minettis that owned Green Dolphin, I went in there with Jesse Jr. So they looked at me a little differently.
Right.
They were like, okay, who's this kid? We'll give him a chance. Because I said, I literally want to say, I want to start throwing parties here. I'm new here. This is the guys that I run with, Congressman Jackson, these guys. So it was a little different intro to Chicago nightlife that I was trying to bring to people. So
Right.
literally we did that and it kind of took off. And then I did a marketing company called the Richmond Group, and we were really, really good at getting sponsors to sponsor and to do programs like you see today, these influencers and these kind of programs that a lot of these brands are doing. We were probably one of the first to really take it to a whole nother level. When we did the House of Cavassier, when we did the BMW series, when we did
Yep.
Cadillac, and I was bringing Idris Elba to come DJ, and just all these different kind of programs that were geared for us because people wanted to figure out how to reach this crowd of people in a cool way. And this is
Right.
before the internet. This is before social media. We had to, get in the streets. We had to meet people.
Yeah.
That's why when I look at promoters now and all they're doing is pushing a button, I'm like, man, did you even ever have a mailing list? Do you even know what it means to go to the post office with 5,000 pieces of mail and have to drop it on a Friday so people get it on a Monday? I mean,
Right.
and passing out flyers. So I mean, it was a different ball game than it is now, and I get it. Obviously, technology has gone in a whole different direction. But to
Yeah.
me, you got to be able to put in that work and build
Right.
your brand. None of us were just influencers because we called ourselves influencers. We did the work, so people wanted to come see what we were offering, and we
Right.
did it in a way that it was cool, it was safe. We didn't have the issues that we have now.
Yeah.
So I mean, everything changes, but I still think there's some professionalism that goes around with all of this. Um, and I still think that some of us older guys can help some of the younger guys, and that's
Right.
why that's why I kind of I'm looked at sometimes as difficult,
Yeah.
but I just kind of want these guys to do better. I don't
Right.
think that they should have to go to the white boys to
Right.
do this, to go to the white club. There's enough African American owned places now that they can go to black owned places. When I was coming up, the only thing that was around was really the clique that was
Yeah.
big and that
Yeah.
was black. So we had to kind of go to white owned establishments if we wanted something that was different, if it was
Yeah.
something not necessarily in our neighborhood. But nowadays, I don't think that same principle is there. So that's why I kind of I'm trying to get people to hopefully talk about and acknowledge that they want to do better in terms of ownership and getting their own places. That's one reason why I went finally and get my own. I got tired of giving my money and all the money that I had from these sponsors and brands and the money that I was bringing. I got tired of giving it to these guys. I got
Yeah.
tired of giving it to the white boys when I could give it to, when I could do it myself and we could figure out how to make it happen on our own.
That was what I was going to ask you. So, and you kind of spoke to it a bit. Expound on it a little bit. So you had become successful in putting these events together. You took it up another level by bringing these brands in, right? Giving these events a different face and a different appeal. Was there anything that triggered outside of, hey, saying, it's the next logical step. Because you see some folks are party promoters for 10, 20 years, and no shade to them if that's what they want to do. What pushed you to, I need to own this brand, right? I need to own what I'm doing beyond the promotional piece of it.
I saw how much money these white guys were making. I saw how much money these white venues were making, but then I also saw how they treated some black promoters. And give them a bullshit night. They give them a bullshit time slot. And I was like, this makes no sense, especially for all the money that we're giving. The black money is different from the white money. The black money is totally different from the general market money. And I was like, you know what? Let me save some money. Let me pull some money together. Let me get my parents, whatever it was going to take. I got tired of giving this business to them. At that time, especially from the brand perspective, we were getting big budgets to do brand programs, whether it was regionally, whether it was locally, or whether it was nationally. We were getting a lot of money. So I was able to save a lot of money. I was able to take the money that we were getting and using and saving, and put into a project, and go to somebody and say, hey, instead of me just promoting it, let's figure out a way that we can be partners. And that's literally how it came about. And from then I just said, you know what, it wasn't about me, and it's never been. Even when I started this thing back in college, it's never about me just making a bunch of money off of it. I always want to figure out, how can we get better, how can we get bigger. And that's what we did even with the brands. And when my first couple of deals, getting involved in the ownership piece, understanding what is all is involved, all the nuances, all the risk, because there's a lot of risk now. And I get a lot of people don't want, and people say, oh, I could just go promote, and I could, just walk away. And you can. And sometimes that is a better deal. Some nights y'all are making more money than I am promoting. But at the end of the day, it's my business. It's my place. I can't get kicked out. Some white guy can't just say, you know what, I don't want to do this no more. But then the next week try to turn it on without you. And that's what they do. They try to build it up, and then kick you out. I've been involved in deals where, I've been the person to put up the money and other people not put up the money. But those other people, have a chance on getting kicked out of the whole deal. And there's not much you can really do, because you don't have any skin in the game. And a lot of these guys, a lot of the white majority owners, they would partner with you if you came to them in a way that was business minded, financially sound, and you could prove to them that you can help them make some money, but also putting some money in so they know you're serious.
Right. Hey, Break, you mentioned something that I want to dive into. So you talked about the black money being different than the white money. Expound on that. What do you mean specifically when you say in the kind of nightlife, black money being different than white money?
Man, we spend at the door, we spend at the bar, we spend at the tables, we spend more money than the white consumer does when it comes to the nightlife. That's why these white guys get black promoters to come on a night, because they don't want to embrace the culture. That's not what it is. They see that money on a Thursday or a Saturday or a Friday or a Sunday. Usually it's not one of the better nights. But they see that somebody can make them $20,000, $10,000, $15,000 on an off night. Because we just different. Because we're used to paying cover charges. We're used to buying tables at a high rate. And even now to this day, I hate to say it, but a black crowd will go downtown and spend double what it costs for a table down there. And if I try to charge them that same price, they're looking at me, Kenny, why are you charging us so much money? It's a fucked up mentality. But that's just the way we are. But so the white club owner or the bar owner, the restaurant owner, that's why they get these black promoters, because they know we spend. And once they get a good consistent night, they know they can count on that night, and they can count on that crowd to do what they're supposed to do in terms of spending, and it kind of go like clockwork, versus there's so many places for white people to go.
Right.
They have so many different avenues, in Chicago alone, let alone across the country, but Chicago alone. And don't let a big nightclub, big bar, restaurant group like Tao come in town and they kill everybody when it
Right.
comes to all the white guys that thought they were cool, all the white places thought they were cool. You're not cool no more with Tao in town. So now
Right.
you're going to get a black promoter. Now you're
Right.
going to get a black night because you need to make up the business that you lost, that you will never see again. And
Right.
who are the best people to come help you make up that business? It's the black crowd.
Yes.
More than the Hispanic crowd, more than
Right.
the Polish crowd, more than anybody. It's the black crowd.
Right. So, I mean, over the past, and you're an owner, you're from an owner perspective, but a number of people have come and gone in the business. Have you sat and thought about what's kind of your secret sauce, or what's the key to your longevity in terms of being able to maintain, bring new places, deliver new things to your audience and to the community? Have you thought about that? And
Well,
what
I
do you
think
think it is?
I do. I have thought about it, and I want to stay relevant with people. I'm 50 now,
Right.
so nobody in my place is going to be older than me. They're not going to be even as old as me. I got to be around young people because young folks are driving this whole thing. If it's young promoters that I work with, and there's a number of young guys that I love to death, and I listen to them, and they got great ideas. They need some direction, but
Right.
they keep everything young and hip. I'm not that guy anymore. People aren't coming out because Kenny Johnson owns the place or Kenny Johnson's throwing. That's not. But I know how to build a place. I
Yep.
know how to make it comfortable and make it sexy and make it appealing. I've been to enough places. I go to a lot of places just to kind of see what people like. That's one thing I probably do better than most. I kind of stay ahead of the game when it comes to seeing what's out there and what people like, whether it's here in Chicago or in DC or in New York or in Atlanta. Plus I have a lot of friends. Mark Barnes from DC that owns Republic Gardens, own Dream, that owns
Yeah.
Park.
Yeah.
He's like my big brother. We talk every day, and he helps me through a lot of these same situations that he's gone through for years. We talk about everything. Yesterday we were talking about just staff issues and just different work issues. So I mean, that's enough. I have good guys around me that are smarter than me, um, that have done it at even a bigger level than me. Mark Barnes is probably the best in the country to ever do this, hands down on the black side of things. Might be hands down white side. It doesn't even matter. He
Right.
is the master at creating and keeping relevant. He's been relevant for 30 years. People been knowing who Mark Barnes is and his places. So that's a guy that I look up to, and that's a guy that I want to mimic when it comes to building my places. And it's funny when people come into my place, they always say, "Oh man, it's got an East Coast feel." Yeah, I'm going to give you that because that's where I'm from. That's what I grew up on. That's what I like.
Right. Right.
As much as I would love to mimic what Park or Dream look like, I try just to make it the comfortability of the place and the feeling of the place. I mean, that's what I like, and I think that's what people like. Um, but I also know that you got to be cognizant of where you are when you're in Chicago. So I got to, there's got to be Chicago stuff that is implemented in all of this stuff. And so I'm working with different folks, keeping it young, keeping it sexy. I don't care if we're in the middle of the day. There's no reason why the place can't be sexy, why the
Right.
place can't be nice. I want to be able to open up during the day with the lights on and it's bright as hell and the place is clean and the place is perfect. Not one of these places that you can only go at 12 o'clock at night with the lights down and you don't see all the shit that's there.
Right.
Which there are a lot of places like that,
Right.
and we still
Yep.
go, and
Yep.
I don't understand why. How can you want to go sit in this nasty ass joint when you
Right.
know it's a piece of shit?
Right.
So I mean, I think that's part of the reason why we've been successful. Um, I just try to stay ahead of the game in terms of what people like and what people want. Whether it's the DJs, which is a very big thing for me. I that was a big deal when growing up, getting the right DJs, and even now, it's a big deal for me to get the right DJs, even in the restaurant. People want. There's certain guys that make shit right. There's
Right.
certain DJs
Right.
that do it better than others. There's certain
Yeah.
DJs that, especially over this quarantine time,
Right.
have made it their mission to stay relevant. If you didn't stay relevant during this quarantine time, I don't know how you could be relevant now. And
Yeah.
there's guys in Chicago, people know who Sean Mack kept his shit hot. Mike P kept his shit hot.
Yeah.
Commando kept his shit. I mean, there's guys that kept their shit hot during. So they were the ones that I said, you know what, when we can open up, we gonna rock with y'all because y'all did the work when
Right.
we couldn't do the work.
Right. Right.
D Nice
Yeah.
blew out everybody.
Crazy.
You
Right.
know what I mean? And D Nice and I have been friends for 20 years. He used to do a lot of our stuff, and to see what he did over quarantine, and
Absolutely.
it was just organically, wasn't on purpose.
Right.
He just started throwing, but he blew it up, and it just went his way. You got
Crazy.
to stay,
Yeah.
you got to stay relevant, and that's why
Yeah.
people like when I moved my place. I moved from one location to another for business reasons because of quarantine. It didn't make sense to be over there anymore with a place that holds 600-700 people.
Right.
We weren't going to see 600-700 people anytime soon.
Right.
The new place, comfortable, better. Everybody likes it. It's a better location, better
Yeah.
part of town, right around the corner from my other place, right around the corner from my house. So it just feels better, and people have received it better.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So you've seen nightlife in a number of different markets. Chicago's kind of I don't know, maybe you don't think this, but it's a little bit of a unique city. What challenges do you think Chicago nightlife has given you that maybe you wouldn't get in other places, and how you've been able to kind of navigate, manage, and keep what you do at a certain level?
The dangerous level. Chicago is more dangerous when
Right.
it comes to nightlife. I hate to say it. It just is. I
Oh,
mean, we can be. It's more dangerous and it's more segregated. So the danger part of it is it's hard to have a place that has 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people and nothing happen. But I can go to Washington D.C. Mark can do 4,000 people in park, not one incident.
mm,
You can go to Atlanta compound, 4,000 people, no problems. For whatever reason, we have problems when big crowds come together, and how to manage those. I can't honestly say because I really don't do those big parties anymore.
right.
I don't want to. I don't know 1,000 or 2,000 people I want to be around or want to take the chance of
Right.
having in my place, and
Right.
now they fuck it up, or it's a fight, or it's a shooting, so I don't mind having smaller places. Chicago will never have a big black nightclub again.
Mm,
Click was probably the last big one. Now there've been black places, we've all done big black nights at Joe's
right.
and even when we had Vibe was amazing for a big African American crowd. When me, Mike Corey, Joey Vartanian did that place, that was amazing. That's probably the last place that we could say you could do 800,000 900,000 people, and there weren't but so many issues. There was nothing crazy ever
Right.
happened there.
Right.
And we had everybody from Rick Ross, Derek Rose would do stuff there. Everybody would come in there and do stuff. We didn't have any issue. But ever since then, I would not personally do a big nightclub again. I do want to do one more nightclub before I check up on out of here.
Okay.
I got one more left in me. When we can really go out and party again, if that ever happens. But
Right.
it still wouldn't be as big as Vibe was or big as Joe. It wouldn't be 1,000 people. I try to probably go 500, but that's kind of an
Yeah.
issue when these other cities have big joints. And then the other part of this, we're so segregated. I mean, white people are segregated in this city. You got Polish people over here, you got Irish people over here.
Right.
So the city will not let us have a big nightclub. Let's just be honest. It's just not going to happen. They might let us have a medium-sized nightclub south of Roosevelt Road, but it's
Mm,
not going to happen downtown. And I'm
right.
not even interested in even trying to get them to let me have a big nightclub downtown. There's no reason to go someplace where you're not wanted. That's just my rule of thumb. The white boys downtown will try to do whatever they can to shut you down, regardless of who they are, regardless of who's coming to your place. And I know a number of the guys that own places. There's no way they would let me come, and I've never had any crazy ass issues. They
Right.
wouldn't let me come down on Hubbard Street. They wouldn't let me come down on Rush Street. They wouldn't let me come down on Division Street because they know, oh, Kenny Johnson's going to bring a black crowd. Not
Right.
the wrong black crowd. It's
Right.
just a black crowd. And they just don't even want to even deal with all that. They don't want to embrace that. But they do want to pluck it off and get a black night here, get a black night there because they like that money. But they would never let me go downtown and do that and do what I do in the South Loop. Not going to happen.
Let's dive into that, because that's one of the things that I wanted to know. Just I've seen you recently, obviously on different news outlets, et cetera, talking about the quarantine and COVID, et cetera. But it has, what are some of those challenges that you experience beyond maybe what you just shared as being a black business owner in Chicago? How does that, in the nightlife, how does that play out? Does it play out in terms of, let me just stop there. How does that play out? What does that look like?
Well, okay, so, a perfect example is when I opened up Little Bureau Bar.
Yep.
Little Bureau Bar is 1,000 square feet.
Yep.
The whole damn place is 1,000 square feet.
Yep.
Before I opened up, when you're going through your liquor license process, you have 45 days to go through all the process. The 43rd day, neighbors upstairs from my place, I guess they had wrote a letter saying we were going to be a deleterious effect to the neighborhood, because that's what they call it. We were going to have gang activity. We were going to have drug use. We were going to have people urinating in front of the place. We were going to have people fighting. Before we had opened up, before they had ever met me, before they had ever even come inside and saw what we were doing in Little Bureau Bar. Little Bureau Bar is like somebody's fucking living room.
Right.
With 2 bathrooms and a little bar. But they said all these things were going to happen if I opened up on 16th in Michigan. So
Wow.
it was a white couple that lived upstairs that ended up never living there. They rented the place out, but they put me through hell for 9 months, held me up for 9. My place was already built, everything. For 9 months, we had to go, the liquor commission denied it. We had to go appeal it. My attorney, Sean Maroney, who owned Double Door and a couple other places, who was smart as shit, figured out what we had to do to win this case. Or that would have never opened, and it might have made it so I didn't want to open else shit else ever again. But the fact that in this city, one resident can make a call, can write a letter downtown and slow up a business owner is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it slowed up a black business owner just because they saw me. They didn't see anything else. They had never come down to put their head knock on the door and say, hey, what are you doing down here? What kind of place is this gonna be? Oh, and see that it was like a living room. They never did any of that. So would they have done that if I was a white boy? I guarantee they wouldn't have. It would never even have crossed their mind to write a letter talking about this little 1,000 square foot bar. And that's what, once we got to the appeal process, that's what the 3 judges, because you end up going in front of 3 judges that can determine your fate. And they were like, well, this place is not a bar, a bar that's just going to have shots. This place looks nice. This place is this. He's got all these recommendations. The alderman was supportive of it. And that's why they say, dismiss this, let this guy open up, because it made no sense.
Right.
And white folks can do that to black business owners, especially black business owners in our business all the time. They did it to Raymond Lambert when he tried to do All Jokes Aside downtown, and he has put all this money into it. So, I mean, it's crazy when 1 or 2 people can stop what you've done. And this is after everything's already been built out, everything's already been paid for. This isn't in the beginning. This is after the fact. So, if I would have got discouraged or didn't know anybody or didn't have a good lawyer, I would be fucked. And I would have been fucked, that was 8 years ago. And I probably would have said, you know what? I'm not opening shit else in this business.
Right. Wow. So we're getting ready to wrap. I know you got a business to run tonight. You're open tonight. Let's kind of transition. We could probably have parts 2 and 3 of this. There's so much we can get into. But talk about, I mean, 2020 has been obviously tough for everyone. But with the type of business that you're in Chicago, we've been back and forth, open, not open, can only open so long. How have you managed through this tough time, and where are you going for counsel? Are you talking to other business, restaurant owners, nightlife type owners to kind of figure out best practices? Kind of talk about that experience.
Yeah, no, it's been devastating. When it first hit on March 16th, and we had just come off of All-Star Weekend.
Yep.
So March was there. Everybody was gearing up for St. Patrick's Day, because even for us on the black side, when we opened up the year before, St. Patrick's Day was the biggest day we had. So everybody was getting excited about St. Patrick's Day, and then when this shit all started happening, it literally started happening a couple days before St. Patrick's Day weekend. So by the time it wasn't a stay-at-home order on St. Patrick's Day weekend, but there was so much media attention about this, everybody got scared.
Right.
So St. Patrick's Day, when they canceled the parade and everything else, St. Patrick's Day was not even close to what it usually was. So it went downhill from March 16th all the way up until we didn't open back up until, I want to say, sometime in July, and that was Sage Room, the old Velvet Lounge. We opened up, and we could
Yep.
just open up outside, and then we opened up Bureau Bar August 6th. And I give the city this. When I was changing over, when I was moving, my guy Schwab down at the Business Consumer Affairs, he was unbelievable. He got me open in 36 days for this place. That never happens. One place I got held up for 9 months, and then one place I get
Right.
open in 36 days. Go figure.
Right.
So it just shows that the city can work when it wants to work.
Yeah.
But right now it's just been devastating for the whole industry. Opening up, not opening up. You can open up from until 10 o'clock, then you can open up to 1:30, then you got to close. You got indoor dining, or do you got just outdoor dining? I mean, none of us can work under this kind of pressure, because
Right.
our businesses aren't built like that. Our businesses are built on day-to-day business, knowing that we can be open from our set time that we pay for our liquor licenses, and our licenses, from whenever you open up in the morning to 2 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock on Saturday. That's how we do our projections. That's how we do our business plans
Right.
on when we're supposed to be able to open. So now, to do all this reconfiguring, it's devastating for everybody. There's going to be more businesses like ours that close. There's
Right.
going to be a lot of vacancies, whether it's downtown, South Loop, West Side, South Side. A lot of people are going to go out of business that are in this business. So we have to figure out a way to get ahead of this. I mean, I'm not even mad at the mayor, matter of fact, because the numbers are going up. I mean, it's
Right.
not like the numbers aren't going up. So we got to do something. Is it because of restaurants and bars? Absolutely not.
Right.
Come, when people were open June, July, August, September, and places were busy outside or inside, the numbers were staying at a reasonable space. So you can't say it was because restaurants and
Right.
bars, because the numbers were low then. So
Right.
there's something else going on, but we are being targeted, and we are being forced to do things that no other businesses are doing. And we're already regulated by the health
Right.
department, by the city of Chicago. We get inspectors in here all the time. That's not something new. And it's not
Right.
something that just happened because of COVID. So we're already a heavily regulated business industry. So, to put even more constraints on us, it's going to kill a lot of places. I can tell you right now, a lot of places aren't going to survive. We've been able to pivot, just because, we're a little nimble. We're a little more nimble. Our bills might not be as high as other places. So we
Right.
can, hopefully we can work out things. We can work out stuff with our landlords. We can work out stuff with our vendors. But like Sage hasn't been open for months now. I mean,
Wow.
the bigger deal is my staff. Luckily I have a great staff, but the bigger deal is getting them back to work and being able to keep them working. And the problem, the uncertainty for them, not knowing if we're going to be open, after Monday.
Yeah.
Not knowing if we're only going to be able to do takeout and delivery, which takeout and delivery in my business, it's cool, but it's not going to pay any bills. We
Right.
need to be able to be open, for the experience. That's how we generate what we generate. So, who knows what's going to happen in the next, 30, 45 days, 60 days. Obviously it's getting colder. It's driving people inside.
Yep.
But hopefully people mask up. Hopefully people do what we're supposed to do. So come 2021, we can have a fucking normal year. So we can get back to some normalcy.
Sure.
Because if not, I don't know what people are going to do.
Right. No doubt. No doubt. Well, brother, man, I appreciate it. I know we missed last week. I'm glad that you're continuing to push forward. Best of luck as you continue to figure it out. Hopefully, like you said, as we go into winter, things slow down a bit, man, and we can get back out and enjoy your places, enjoy your venues. You're an important part of Chicago nightlife. And so we appreciate you, man, and continue. Best of luck, brother.
Man, I appreciate it, brother. Everyone, I got you. I'm on with you.
My man. For everyone else, again, last episode of season 2 of the Droppin Knowledge podcast. Again, we're going to take a break for the next few weeks, but guarantee you that we'll be back and we have some cool, fun things that you guys are going to want to see from the Droppin Knowledge podcast. So continue to support. Go follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram at the Droppin Knowledge podcast. Make sure you go over to YouTube as well and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next season, peace.